Hello everyone, it is Liam the Deaf to Metalhead, and today I am doing another collection update because that's all that seems to happen on this channel at the moment. But it's all fucking awesome music, and to be fair, I love all these albums I'm going to show you. These are all pretty much new. They're probably about 3 years old, most of these, all 2022 releases. So yeah, ballpark 2020 to 2022, these were all released. And yeah, all amazing. So let's start with the first band. So this is an American band based out of Ohio, formed in 2018. This is their second EP from 2020, and that is the band, I want to pronounce it Baffer, but it could be Baver, I don't know. But this is their second EP called Phantom Guilt. Self-release, I believe, as well. And this is like a doomy, blackened, almost death metal kind of band. I would say it's more in the vein, they're hard to categorize because I was only aware of this, I think I found it on Instagram, and then I got speaking to the vocalist who is called Josh, and he was sending me links to check out the music, and I really like it because it's got a very raw edge to it. It's kind of like if the band Deftones, I know this is a bad example, but if that band wanted to become more of a kind of doomy, blackened kind of style, the vocals are nothing like Deftones, but it's quite shouty, quite angry, but it's got it's not like you would say, oh, that's a death metal band, or oh, that sounds like a black metal band. It's nothing like that. It's just, it's got pinches of those styles that kind of just get injected into it, because there were some parts in this that reminded me of Alice in Chains, and some bits where there's spoken word kind of vocals. And it's, I think, 4 tracks, and I've listened to this a lot. I mean, it's only like, I want to say like 20 odd minutes long, because I've had this in the car a lot, because that's about my journey time for work at the moment, and this has been an easy listen. I just shove it on, crack on my day, you know. And it's really good. I'll leave a link below. I don't know where you can buy it from though. I don't think it's on Bandcamp. If it is, obviously I will put a link, but I'll link their social media so you can give them a hard time, because this is really good. I mean, I really like this. So if you trust my taste in music and you think, yeah, I might like it if he likes it, I strongly recommend giving it a go at least, because it's fucking awesome, really cool. So cheers for that, Josh, I really appreciate it. Next one is a band that I kind of jumped on the hype train because everyone was talking about it. I checked it out, and yeah, it's my kind of stuff, but it is very heavily influenced by one of my favourite bands. So this is the band Writhing Shadows, with their debut full length for 2022 titled Writhing Shadows. I didn't realise it was a self-titled album. But yeah, like the sticker says, warning, pose of death imminent. Now, when I said it's like my favourite band, if you can kind of guess by the artwork, you can kind of already figure out what this band kind of sound like. And it is Bolt Thrower. It has a very heavy Bolt Thrower vibe to it, but not a straight up carbon copy with the riffs or the guitar tone. It's totally different. It just has that Bolt Thrower-esque vibe to it. It's got very nasty tone to it. It's very thick, slimy guitar style, very overdriven but very guttural. It's like if you muddied the guitar tone enough to nearly autopsy levels. It's got that vibe to it, but with more of a Bolt Thrower kind of song structure style, if that makes any sense. Now this was put out through Gurgling Gore and Dawn Breed Records in, I think they're out of Holland. Really cool band. I mean, I discovered these guys because of Ken on Ken's Death Metal Crypt. He had them on a, I think they were on Crypt Fest by memory, but they only had an EP out at the time. You could not get that out over here. And you know, it's the same for this. This just seemed to pop out on Dry Cough Records distro. I jumped on it straight away because I really liked the sound of the band. I liked what I heard from Crypt Fest. You know, I thought they were really cool. And yeah, it's a solid album. Really is solid. I mean, the best track for me is probably Devourment of God's People. That song has some really hooky, juicy riffs on there. Valkyrie of Blood, that's a really good track. All of them are really good, to be fair, but those two really stood out for me. It's got that little doomy elements in there as well. But yeah, it's just a straight up nasty Bolt Thrower-esque like death metal band. So yeah, Writhing Shadows, really cool. Another 2022 release. A lot of these actually 2022 releases, so I do apologise, but new music is, I don't know how I got actually most of these just suddenly appeared out of nowhere, or I've been given them, or I've been really lucky with distros lately. And this one was another one I never thought I'd get, and that is R.I.P's second EP, Still Resting. This is a German death metal band that I think their first EP came out through Brutal Mind Productions out of Portugal, I think it is. I have that EP back there somewhere. This is the second one I put out through Life After Death, a very cool label that I like a lot. 4-track EP, and again, it just carries on where the other one left off. It's just solid death metal with more of a thrashy element to it, a little bit. It's very fast, very upbeat, very groovy, very chuggy in some parts as well. And I think the production on this one is better than the first EP. I need to put the first one back on because I haven't actually done that to compare it really. But by memory, this one stands out more in my head for being heavier. But then I could be talking completely out of my arse and I could put the other one on and it sounds identical. But I don't think so. But yeah, awesome. 4-track EP. I got this through At War with False Noise out of Scotland. His distro has a load of Life After Death stuff at the moment. This was a £5. So go hit him up because he doesn't rip people off. He really fucking does you a solid with selling on stuff. So yeah, well worth checking out. This one I didn't think I'd ever have either. This one is so expensive to get off the band, shipped to the UK. And hardly any distros were getting involved apart from maybe one, but then as soon as it went on there it sold out instantly. And I literally found this by fluke. I went on Discogs, typed it in just to have a laugh to see where it was being sold from, and I found one in the UK and I jumped on it, and that is the latest EP from Disma with, try and pronounce it, Erfidium, something like that. It's all written down below, so you know, ignore my ramblings, but look at that artwork. Now, I love this band. Their debut full length and their only full length is still one of my top 10 albums I just love. I love the albums. Really heavily Death Doom, but in an incantation vibe, but there's a reason for that. So this band is founded on former member, I forget his name, but he was the vocalist in Incantation, or maybe the second vocalist. And then the guitarist, who I think is also the founding member of this band, has also been live guitars for Incantation. It also had the drummer who was on the early Immolation albums, the first two I think. But the band they've gone quiet for quite a while. I mean, their debut full length came out in 2011. They formed in 2005, and this is their third or fourth EP for 2022. Now the band, if you can see on there, is not changed for much over the years. These three lads here, so he's the bass player. This guy here was the former vocalist in Incantation, has also been in Evoken. I think he's the founding member of the band. And I've got a new drummer here who is also the drummer, I think, what was his name? Chris Warhead, who's in Blasphematory, if you know that band. Just put an album out this year that's really, really cool. And yeah, this is 3-track EP. It's good, but it's nowhere near the level of the full length from 2011. That album, I mean, I know the riffs off by heart. And I've given this several listens, and I like it a lot. Don't get me wrong, but it hasn't got the same impact as that album did. Now, this has very slow, plodding moments, which I love. You know, which is what Disma's good at. They have some weird kind of drum tempos, and I guess that's the drummer kind of injecting his own style into it that kind of make it very, very different to other bands of this style. Like some of the drum beats you would never expect to hear, and that was quite cool. But yeah, artwork wise, it's, you know, spot on. I love it. And yeah, cheers to Aesthetic Death, who I believe are also getting more copies in. So if you're a UK guy, or you know, it's cheaper to get albums from the UK, keep an eye on that label, especially on Discogs, because I know Stu is going to get more of these in. So yeah, Disma, fucking amazing. Now, another UK label doing me a solid. This was sent to me by Chris over at Cavernous Records. This is a 2022 four-way split between four bands, one being from the UK, near and dear to me, and then the other three, one is, or maybe one's Canadian and two are American. I can't really remember, all three are Canadian. And that is this split here. Now, the artwork will not tell you anything. There's no wording on it at all, but this is an EP split up between Perilaxe, Occlusion, Fumes, Celestial Sanctuary, and Thorn. Now, Celestial Sanctuary are a Cambridge-based band. They're based my way of the country. Perilaxe, Occlusion, I believe, are Canadian, as well as Fumes, and then Thorn is an American band, I think. And yeah, just 4 solid tracks to make up this split, put out through Cavernous Records, and I think Gurgling Gore have got the cassette version. So this was a nice surprise, because I didn't know Chris was putting this out at all. It's been teased for months by every band with a little logo which kind of fitted with the artwork but with a different colour, so you kind of knew there was going to be a split. And yeah, absolutely solid. Celestial Sanctuary, Tom, it's very riffy, his track. Fumes' track is very weird, and I really like it. It's very weird. It's not an easy listen at all. He's really good at making these really fucking weird guitar tones, and they just work every time. Perilaxe, Occlusion is probably the standout track for me, the first one. They're an amazing band. And then Thorn kind of ties it up at the end with a solid song as well. So yeah, go and pick that up, because that's a really, really cool 4-way split, and it isn't very expensive, so loving that. Next is another Life After Death release. This came out in 2021, yes, and is a band that I blindly bought for just purely the reason that I follow him on Instagram, and I like the cut of his jib. You know, he's a cool dude, and that is the band, I'm going to try and pronounce this because I probably won't do it well, Eallic, with Rake of the Astral Leviathan. Now look at that, that's cool. This is a band based out of Utah, formed in 2007 as Marum, but then they dropped to Bemba and then became this band in 2020. And I believe they're brothers, but I'm not 100% sure. They have the same surname, but that could mean anything, you know. They could even be married, I don't bloody know. But either way, an amazing band, and this really, really caught me off guard for 2 reasons. One, I blindly bought it, so I wasn't expecting it to be anything apart from death metal, because it's on Life After Death. I assumed it was, but the first track was almost a power metal song. It was called, well, technically it's the second track, but the first track is an instrumental thing. But Desert Flare, I'm going to pretend I liked it, because I didn't. It was a bit too for me, but I mean, musically it was cool. But yeah, that was like a power metal song, and then it goes into this fuck off really heavy death metal song called Passage M87, and then from there it carries on, just being really fucking Morbid Angel-esque, sci-fi kind of death metal, really ploddy, really heavy, and I love it. I absolutely love it. And then it got to the Veil, track 8, and it goes back into that power metal kind of style. And I was like, what's going on there? Has he just done that to piss people off, or just kind of, you know, experiment with his music, which I totally understand. And then track 9 is a Megadeth cover. This Was My Life, and I can't stand Megadeth, so skip that one instantly. I did listen to it again, but I still don't like Megadeth. But yeah, I mean, the death metal stuff on it is fantastic, and I like me some power metal, don't get me wrong, and I was singing along to it in a way when I was driving, because the vocals are very easy to remember for the singy songs. But you know, my favourite ones are track 3, 4 and 5, and even Emerald Owls actually was a really cool track, and track 7 actually, I love them all. So yeah, all them for this album was great. This is their debut for 2022. Am I right? No, 2021, yeah, debut full length for 2021, so go check it out. It was really cool, but it really did surprise me, because I blindly bought it, didn't listen to a note of it. Next is a 2022, no, I'm getting my numbers wrong. This is a debut EP from 2021. Band formed in 2021. They're from Barcelona, Spain. They're a 2-piece, and that is the band Trollcave, with Malforming Abominations of the Gloom Depths. Yeah. Now this is a re-release done by Behind the Mountain Records for CD, and this is 3 tracks of raw, very, it's hard to describe. So this is like, it's funeral doom, doom death, rawly recorded, and it's just heavy. Like, it's really, really heavy. There's no frills, there's no mixing, mastering, or nothing like that. It's just straight up recorded live. It almost sounds that way anyway. Horrible, doomy death metal. Very simple riffing with some nice undertones and like little harmonies and weird noises to create that kind of eeriness to it. You know, really, I mean, it's a two-piece band, so you're not going to get loads of different musicians jumping in and out. It's just really simple stuff. There they are there. I think live they're a three-piece and have a vocalist doing some really cool stuff. And that dude there, even though you can't see his face, he's in quite a few projects that I need to check out. But yeah, they're really, really cool. I really like this a lot. I mean, the reason I picked it up is because I listened to it on Bandcamp. And I had it on my want list for ages because it's really solid, really riffy, very, very catchy. Even though how raw it is, it's just very simple 90s-esque sounding Death Doom, or Doom Death, if you want to be really technical. It's not fast. It's very ploddy, it's like Funeral Doom almost. But yeah, really, really cool. So pick up some Trollcave because that's really, really good. All these are really, really good. Next is another Cavernous Records release sent to me by Chris. This is a project that I had no idea existed, and I don't think it's been, you know, been around too long. So they are a UK/Romanian band. Features Tom Hughes from Crypt Rot and Maimed, who's the main songwriter for this project. And then he's got Ryan, who is in Seven Doors, Deadwood Lake. You might know him. He's quite well known on social media if you're a guitar fan like me. He does all the solos on this album. And then they've got a guy called Filip Garlonta, who's a Romanian chap who's in fucking hundreds of death metal bands. He's only 20 years old and he's in, what's he in? Demoted, Putrid, there's a ton more. There's one that starts with V, I think. But this is the project called Blood Rage, with the album Welcome to the Crimson Pines. This is their debut full length, and only full length. I think it was written maybe 2021, 2020. Excuse me, by Tom. And then over time he's got other people to get involved. Philip does the vocals on this, and he sounds very much like a very young Chris Barnes before he went, wee. You know, this has got a very low guttural voice. It just works really well. Obviously it's horror themed, inspired by 80s slasher flicks, especially you know, the main man Jason Voorhees, and it even features two instrumental tracks on either side of it, which are synth tracks done by an Italian guy called TV Crimes, if you know that, which is cool. And yeah, it's just solid raw underground death metal inspired by horror movies. So doesn't push the boat out, it's nothing different, it's just a bit of fun. They're the lads there living all fucking heavy metal. And yeah, I really like it. It's really fun, just simple, easy to listen to. And you know, it's not expensive either, so go grab that. I'll leave a link below because that's really fun. And now, another Life After Death EP, or an album. It's got 8 tracks on it, so I'm going to call it an album, but I'm not sure. I think it is an EP because they're not that long. And this is their debut EP for 2022. And that is the band Morgued, with Terraformed. Now, I blindly bought this one again because it wasn't expensive. At War, False Noise were selling for $5 each, and there's a cassette version as well, which was the same price. And you know, it's the cover that really sold it to me. And this is a 3-piece based out of Boston in the US, formed in 2019, and this is their debut. And it's just sci-fi-esque death metal. You know, it's got some, I want to say Starship Troopers sound bites in it, but I could be wrong. I haven't watched that film in a long time. I won't open it up because the inner ray disc is smashed to pieces because of Mr. Postman. So that'll just go whoa and fly out. I mean, I might show you the CD actually. The booklet's nothing fancy. And to be fair, the CD isn't either, it just looks like that. But there is some cool artwork in the inner tray, but there's loads of plastic in there, so I won't show you that. But musically, this is almost Tomb Mold-esque, if you like that kind of sci-fi death metal. It's very fast, it's very raw. The vocals kind of sing along to the song title, so you kind of know what he's talking about. You can actually understand the words as well. Like Ambush on the Jungle Planet, War Crimes of the Biotroopers, Maggot-Ridden Tyrants. You know, it's all cool sounding stuff. And it is solid music as well. I really enjoyed this. Very easy listen, so go and give some Morgued a go. 2 more and I'll let you be on your way. Now this one was a band that reached out to me on Instagram a couple of weeks ago, but I had followed them prior to that because I've seen they were talking about getting this released. And it's a German death doom band, a new band, Formed in 2019, and this is their debut full length. There's no EPs or demos prior to that. And that is Nihilistic Warfare with the album Spark Hatred Fire, put out through that record label. I can't pronounce it, but Gutter and Grave Productions is the only other bit I can read off this. But that was, again, this was blindly sent to me. The guy in the band, I think it's the vocalist, just reached out to me and said, can I send you a copy of this? He also sent me the cassette version, which was really cool. And this is fucking amazing. It's a 2022 release, so totally new. And when you look at the picture of the band, you would probably assume that it's not Death Doom. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. But they kind of have that Uada look where they wear the balaclavas, leather jackets, and you normally would associate that with like bestial black metal, very hateful sounding music. But this isn't it at all. It's got a pinch of it, and I mean a pinch of that kind of style. And even the band name you'd never suggest this is a Death Doom band at all. This is more of a blackened Death Doom band, but only blackened in the style of the vocals. But even then, it's not that intense. So this is very riffy, almost Bolt Thrower, Fourth Crusade worship, as well as maybe Those Once Loyal. There's a lot of those kind of groovy riffs on this album. They're very groovy, and there's some like very somber doomy parts with nice little plucked chords in there, which kind of has that little black metal vibe to it. And then his vocals are growled, but the vocals are understandable, so you can hear every word he's saying. I mean, the song's called Filthy Saints, which is just a very, very groovy song, very upbeat. No God, No Compromise, then slows right down, has very doomy edge to it. And probably the pick of the bunch is probably Nothing But Dust, which is the last track, but that, it just screams Fourth Crusade. That whole riff, everything about it is Bolt Thrower-esque, even the tone of the guitars, everything. But they're not ripping Bolt Thrower off, it instantly reminded me of Bolt Thrower. And there's elements of that throughout this whole album, as well as kind of black and doomy stuff as well. So yeah, really, really impressed with this. I really, really enjoyed this. And I've had it 2 days now, and I've spun it about 6 times. It's very, very easy to listen to. And on my drive to work, I had this on quite a few times today, and it is killer. So yeah, go check it out. I really do recommend this. Really, really good. And lastly, another 2022 album. One that I only discovered last week, and since then I've had it on non-stop. This has to be one of those albums that completely floored me, and I never expected to like it because I never even heard of it. And then when I start listening to it, and then I find out the history of the band, it kind of all made sense. So this is the band Hearse with their debut full length, Traipse Across the Empty Graves, put out through a label called Cincinnati Records, I think it is. This is an American band based out of Pennsylvania. They formed in 1997. I believe they did 2 demos or 2 EPs and then disbanded in 2001. And they've since got back together in 2019 and released this in 2022. Now, this is doomy death metal, very raw, natural sounding. There's no modern production, nothing like that. It's very raw, natural sounding death doom. It's slow but incredibly riffy, like very, very catchy. All the riffs on here are memorable. It's got a very strong Candlemass vibe to it with the way they're written and how they're put together in the songs and the structures. Vocally, it's a black metal style, but the reason for that, I think, is because the main guy behind this band is a guy called Cameron Grant, who was a vocalist and the drummer on the very early Grand Belial Key albums. And he's also the main guy in the band Crucifier, who just put out, I think, an EP this year that I need to grab. So you can see the link between that instantly, and it makes more sense when you listen to this, where that music's coming from. And the presentation on this is amazing. And it's all done by Justin Stubbs, who I think is the guy behind Father Befouled. So that was really cool. CD looks like that, with like a grave, open grave, and a weird looking picture there. And you've got another one in the inner tray there, and all this really cool looking artwork. And it's just a fucking amazing album. I really, really like this. They've got no social media presence whatsoever that I've found anyway. And again, I'm really lucky to grab this. This was on eBay. I bought it from one on eBay in the UK. And it was the same guy that sent me that CD note for the Grand Balal's Key albums that I bought a couple of months ago now. So it's just weird coincidence that it was the same dude, and he invited me to kind of join this Discord. I mean, still got the post-it note here, you can read it here. Look. It's really funny how it was the same guy. But he invited me to join their web forum, which is really good. It's just a bit more non-PC, should we say. But, you know, I don't give a shit. I'm open-minded to a point. I don't put up with too many fucking weirdos, but, you know, hang out with the weirdos, you discover some cool music. So yeah, Hearse. I mean, it's just an amazing album. Now this will probably feature quite high at the end of the year for me if I do a end of year list, which I probably will, because who doesn't on YouTube? It's just cool. It's just a really, really easy album to get into, and vocally, it's just, yeah, just solid, absolutely solid. There's riffs for days, and if you're a fan of Candlemass, Hooded Menace, I don't know, My Dying Bride, the whole fucking lot, you know, you'll love Hearse. So go give that a go if you can find it. It's on Spotify though, so you'll be able to stream it. So yeah, that is my collection update. I hope you enjoyed it. There's a big old stack of albums there to get through, and you can all enjoy them because they're all new-ish or new. And yeah, thank you for your time. Please consider subscribing if you are new to the channel. I'll leave links to other videos here, and also like the video to tell YouTube that I'm a cool guy. And until then, I'll speak to you guys in the comment section. Cheers.